Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Fraser Jackson and here are the headlines. As a jailed Egyptian breaks his 7th month-long hunger strike, Egypt's human rights record comes into the spotlight as the COP27 climate summit continues. Senegal recently imposed a price cap on various goods from food to rent as inflation continues to bite in the country. But the move hasn't been welcomed by all. We'll have a report from our team on the ground. And the world has officially surpassed 8 billion inhabitants. As the global population grows, the majority of that growth is projected to come from 5 countries on the African continent. It's good to have you with us. The COP27 climate summit is still underway in Egypt, but it's the country's human rights record that has made headlines in recent days. Allegations of spying on foreign delegates have been dismissed by authorities, but the government has been known to crack down on dissent. Jailed British-Egyptian activist Alaa Abdel Fattah has spent the best part of a decade in prison for speaking out against authorities. But on Tuesday, it was announced he had broken his 7-month-long hunger strike just days after he stopped drinking water. Abdel Fattah's case is one of several examples which rights groups worry will stop being discussed once the spotlight of the COP27 summit moves on.
Concerns over human rights have cast a shadow over this climate conference from the very beginning. Activists say there can be no solution for climate change without freedom of speech or freedom of assembly, both of which are heavily suppressed in Egypt. Philip Luther of Amnesty International held a meeting with Egyptian and international human rights organizations in Cairo last Saturday to address this topic. He expressed the fear of Egyptian human rights defenders for what happens after the COP.
Everyone says the same thing. They are really, really worried about reprisals after the spotlight of the world's attention moves on from Egypt. It's really serious because we've seen patterns before where Egyptian human rights activists, political opponents who've spoken to diplomats, who've sent complaints to UN bodies, have then been arrested and charged with spreading false news or other bogus charges and arrested and imprisoned. So it's really serious.
In the past weeks, at least 180 people were arrested in Cairo in relation to a call for protest.
Kuzanfo is there in Cairo. Kenya's former president Uhuru Kenyatta is in the eastern Congolese city of Goma as he continues to mediate peace talks for the East Africa Community Trading Bloc. He arrived just a day after intense fighting between DR Congo government troops and the majority Tutsi M23 militia group, who rose to prominence when they captured Goma in 2012. After years of laying dormant, violence restarted in late 2021. The latest flare-up has resulted in both calls for peace and locals to flee for safety. Take a listen.
Kwanza tuache vita.
Please, we must stop with this war. The children, the mothers, and the elderly do not know why these people are fighting. Take pity on them. Let's stop with this war and start talking.
Tuache vita na tuanze kuongea.
We saw the army fleeing. There were many of them, so we were scared and started fleeing too. We thought the enemy was getting close.
We're fleeing. We don't know where we'll be spending the night. May God be with us everywhere we go, as we don't know where we're going.
Ivory Coast has announced its plan to quit the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali. No official explanation for the pullout has been given, but relations with Bamako have soured ever since the detention of almost 50 Ivorian troops months ago. Troops Ivory Coast say were there to form part of the peacekeeping mission in the country, but that Mali accused of being mercenaries. The announcement comes the day after the UK said it too would be withdrawing its forces from the UN mission, saying Mali's growing reliance on the Russian mercenary group Wagner was undermining the country's stability. Almost 2 weeks since the Ethiopian government signed a ceasefire with Tigrayan forces, the first aid trucks have finally arrived in the war-torn region. Thousands have been killed in the clashes between Addis Ababa and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, and millions have been displaced. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed agreed to honestly implement the ceasefire agreement, with the US saying it will not hesitate to impose sanctions should the agreement not be upheld. Well, this past weekend, the Senegalese government introduced subsidies to bring down the price of food, construction material, school fees and rent, among other things. The move comes after high inflation triggered in part by the war in Ukraine. Sam Bradpeace has more from Dakar.
Fas Market lies in the heart of Dakar. Prices here have dropped significantly since the weekend. Onions, potatoes, eggs, cooking oil, sugar and rice are all going at bargain prices. A kilo of grains, a key part in the Senegalese diet, has dropped by about 4 cents.
I am very happy about this fall in prices because everything was expensive, especially rice. We were tired of it.
I did not have a choice but to bring my prices down. It does not suit me, but I had to.
Government officials have been charged with enforcing the new prices on the ground. Their price patrol will last at least a month.
Where is the poster with the new prices? Where is it?
This seller didn't adhere to the rules and paid the price.
They will have to pay fines. Those who don't want to pay will be dealt with according to the law.
The seller believes this is unfair.
They woke up one morning and decided to implement new prices and want us to apply them straight away without giving us a chance to get rid of our existing stock.
Rent controls will be implemented shortly, much to the relief of people living in Dakar, already deemed the most expensive city in West Africa.
The world has surpassed 8 billion people just 11 years after it marked its 7th billion inhabitant. That means the world's population has doubled since 1974. Over half of the increase expected by the mid-century is projected to come from 5 countries on the African continent, including Nigeria. Caroline Lamberley reports.
It's expected to become the world's most populated city by the end of the century. Now, with its more than 15 million residents, Lagos is already one of the largest cities in the African continent. The booming population is worrying for the city's residents, who already struggle with overcrowded public transport and long commutes.
The growing population in the country is a cause for concern when it has to do with Nigeria as a country. But for other countries, it might not be a cause for concern because they have a very good structured government and the population is well taken care of. But in Nigeria, the reverse is the case.
The population in sub-Saharan Africa is growing at a rate of 2.5%, more than 3 times the global average. Increased longevity is a factor, but the principal cause is family size. On average, the fertility rate is 4.6 births per woman, twice the global average of 2.3.
Some cultures that believe that the more children you have, the stronger you are, in quotes. Like, they believe that as a man, if you have so much children, it means you are a man. And then as a woman, if you have so much children, you're actually strong. And it's not exactly really true. So I feel like that's what we need to really look into. People need to be well informed.
Nigeria's population is already one of the world's largest. By 2050, it's expected to become the 3rd largest country in the world.
And finally, a group of young Beninese girls who dance and make music to raise awareness for women's and children's rights are currently on tour in France. The Star Feminine is an atypical band hailing from the country's north. Our team went to meet them before they embarked on this tour.
At first glance, nothing destined these young girls to be professional singers in a region where women are more often relegated to playing second fiddle. 6 years ago, these teenagers knew nothing about music.
When I play music, I am happy, and there is a warmth that music brings me.
The girl band was formed after an announcement on a local radio station by André Balaguemon, the founder of what would become the Star Feminine Band. He was looking for girls who liked music, who liked to go to school, and who were not pregnant. The promoter of the group has been fighting to raise awareness on women's rights. He witnessed a lot of domestic violence as a child himself.
Blood was running everywhere. It hurt. I was crying. I still have this image in my head that this man could have hurt his wife and no one did anything about it.
Star Feminine Band sings in several Beninese languages, in French and in English. They've successfully made their lyrics catchy, despite singing about female genital mutilation, forced marriages or children's rights.
When I'm on stage, I'm proud to pass on my message. I would like women to be recognized in society so that their rights are not violated. Here in Benin, women now know that they can fight for their rights.
The band has already released 2 albums produced by a French record company that defends artists who are difficult to sell. Since then, the Star Feminine Band has been touring Europe.
That's it for this edition. Stay tuned to France 24.